All right, Robby, what's on your radar today?
All right, here we go. Well, at Rising here, we've been laser focused on the U.S. midterm election results for the last week or so, with an occasional check-in to see whatever Elon Musk is up to. But there's another big story going on in the tech and financial worlds, and it's time to start talking about it here. So, I mean, of course, FTX, the cryptocurrency exchange that went bankrupt a few days ago. This is a massive story involving considerable, what looks to me like fraud. FTX's problems have caused panic in the highly volatile crypto market, prompting billions of losses in other exchanges. Bitcoin and Ethereum are currently feeling the pain. But the major issue going on here is with FTX. So this cryptocurrency exchange was founded by a young man named Sam Bankman-Fried, who goes by SBF. He is 30 years old, he has unruly hair, and wears shorts all the time. He's become a major funder, actually, of liberal and democratic causes. In fact, this election cycle, he was the second largest funder of Democrats after George Soros. His political donations maybe bought him a great deal of goodwill from the mainstream media. Here he is being interviewed by CNBC and described as crypto's white knight for bailing out struggling companies. Watch this.
Let's talk about what's going on with Sam Bankman-Fried. In just the past 5 years, Sam Bankman-Fried went from buying his first Bitcoin to becoming a multi-billionaire. The FTX founder is now worth an estimated $11 billion. He could have bought that Jordan jersey if he wanted to. His exchange is now worth $32 billion, and it brought in about $1 billion in revenue just last year. CNBC's Kate Rooney has more on the CEO's rise to the top of the crypto industry. They call him the JP Morgan of crypto, right?
Yeah, the Michael Jordan of crypto, if you will. Sam Bankman-Fried has really played a key role in the crypto industries. Just the role in the industry this year in general, Andrew, he spent hundreds of millions of dollars to bail out struggling companies facing bankruptcy, liquidity issues, you name it. The CEO, though, lives a relatively understated life for a billionaire. He drives a Toyota Corolla to FTX's offices in the Bahamas. He lives with 10 roommates and a golden doodle named Gopher. Sometimes sleeps under his desk on a beanbag chair as well. I sat down with Bankman-Fried outside of FTX's headquarters to talk about his role as the industry's lender of last resort.
So I want to give you a sense of the kind of glowing coverage this guy has been getting for quite a while now, despite sitting atop a house of cards, one that has all come crashing down. So here's what happened. In addition to running FTX, he also ran something called Alameda Research, which was a quantitative trading firm. As of 1 year ago, SBF owned 90% of Alameda. FTX is a cryptocurrency storage and trading platform. FTX holds people's crypto assets, their coins, and then helps them sell them for a fee. But what SBF did with those assets is lend them to Alameda Research to make investments. SBF then created a token that he called FTT. He used that token to pay Alameda's investors, employees, and vendors. So that's all a bit complicated, but SBF essentially used deception to make FTX seem much more valuable than it was, and then paid off various debts by selling that deception. Eventually, deceptions are always discovered. On November 2nd, a leaked Alameda balance sheet revealed that most of its $11 billion in assets was tied to that token. So this caused panic and prompted tons of investors to withdraw from FTX. The result? Bankruptcy. FTX is headquartered in the Bahamas. There are rumors that SBF has been taken into custody, though he clearly still has access to his Twitter account, so who knows? Writing in Common Sense, Michael Green describes SBF as akin to Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos, the woman who defrauded investors on her blood testing idea, or like a, quote, less civic-minded Bernie Madoff. Devastating. This disaster will likely lead to increased calls to regulate the cryptocurrency industry. It's important to keep in mind one important fact, however. Congress had been looking recently at a specific crypto regulation, the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. It was introduced in the Senate in August, passed the Senate's Banking Committee in September. That regulation was being propelled by Sam Bankman-Fried. According to Fortune, the whole thing was spearheaded by Sam and FTX. So let's be clear, a fraudster who deceived crypto users, investors, employees, and vendors to the tune of billions of dollars was the guy writing Congress's crypto rules. This guy just so happened to have bought his way to a position of paramount prominence within the Democratic Party. By the way, here's a photo of SBF with Tony Blair and Bill Clinton, paid celebrity endorsers of FTX, at a conference he put together in the Bahamas. Do you have confidence our elected officials were about to regulate crypto in a manner that did not unfairly benefit Sam Bankman-Fried? I certainly don't. So this is an interesting discussion, subject that I assume we'll be discussing more on the show. I'd love to bring in some people with obviously more expertise than either of us have in crypto and et cetera. So that's just kind of an overview of what's going on based on what I've read about this in the news. Pretty bad. Unquestionably a really gross fraud on his part to kind of create this coin and then use that to pay. It's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, et cetera. Or I guess it's robbing Peter and then convincing and then paying Peter something that doesn't exist. Yeah.
I mean, this is the fundamental issue, as I understand it, with so many of these newfangled currencies. Whatever you think about regulation, part of the reason why we have the regulations we do with respect to the other banks, where so many of us keep our money and our livelihoods, is because there needs to be a guarantee that there's a certain amount of liquidity in the bank so that you don't get things like a run on the bank, which happened here in part because one of his rivals, Changpeng Zhao, who's an executive at Binance, at a rival exchange, ended up withdrawing a large amount of money. This is another part of the story, right? Which started the run on the bank. And then subsequently, he actually had offered to buy the failing company, Fried's company. And when they looked into it, decided it wasn't advantageous for him to do so. And Bankman-Fried says that was all part of his ruse to kind of drive down his company. And then he had never any real intention of buying it. So there's all of this weird insider back and forth. But what seems really obvious is that there are advantages to having some regulation that protects the idea that there is actually value in the thing that you're investing in. And that if there's actually real money there that you can invest, instead of it having been passed off apparently to pay Alameda and all of these kinds of insider deals that he was working on.
I thought you might say, who cares? A bunch of wealthy people poured their money into this con and they got conned. That sucks for them, but I don't care.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who aren't so wealthy that really bought into the idea of Bitcoin. And to the extent that there might be some real reasonable applications for these kinds of cryptocurrencies from a privacy perspective, I think it's useful for them to operate as they should. They should protect the people who are investing in them. What is problematic is that we've seen celebrities go on late night shows and advertise their monkeys and try to get normal people to buy in, and normal people do buy in, and they're hurt by these kinds of things as well. But I do think this is a kind of an analogy for what happens in the banking industry, generally speaking. Just like Sam Bankman-Fried did, bankers write laws that make it advantageous for themselves to do things that are ruinous for the general population. We saw this happen in disastrous fashion in 2008, and there were no consequences for it.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll be continuing to follow this, and we'll have more Rising in just a minute.